What's going on, Wonderland? It's Allie, and honestly, I am really happy to be here. I thought that I would not be able to record another video for a couple of weeks, but luckily I am here with you guys today, and we are able to start with a really special video to me, which usually around when the holidays start, I become very nostalgic. I like to think about my home, where I grew up, what made me into a gamer, who I am today. And honestly, these are some of the topics that I wanted to discuss in this video. So if it's something that you're interested in, I really hope that you stick around. What exactly turned me into a gamer is basically going back a long time ago. Okay, not that long, like around maybe 28 years ago. I was really young, and I remember back at that time, we grew up. Oh, first of all, let me just start all over. We back in the 90s, life was a little bit different. I'm sure a lot of you can agree. Like, our parents let us go outside, and they weren't as worried as they are now with children these days. And like, if you had a friend who lived on the block, like on the other street, your parents would let you go over to them regardless if you were like 5 years old. And I remember I wasn't 5 though. I was like maybe 7 or 8. And I remember my parents letting me go over to my friend's house, who happened to have a brother who bought his first Nintendo console. Now, I didn't know what a video game was. I just, enjoyed in the fun, I guess. And I said to myself, well, this is really interesting, because the console that they were playing, it was a Nintendo, but it was one cartridge and it had like 50 plus games on it. So I didn't know at the time that that was just like a bootleg version of like something that they put together, and at that time was like emulating games. Nevertheless, I thought it was really cool. And I said to, I came home and I said to my mother, Mom, I saw my friends play this console. I don't even know what it's called, but there's like this little person jumping up and down and catching bananas, and I kind of liked it. So is there any way that you can get me this console? And honestly, I was talking about Adventure Island. And my mother was like, okay, but I need to know what the name was. And like, I got her the information. And I think that winter during the holidays, and we celebrated Hanukkah at the time, we got a Nintendo, and the Nintendo was very dear to me. It was a lot of good memories. My mother, my father, everybody was playing at my household. And when my brother was born, I think I was already like maybe 10. My brother joined, not to play because he was too young, but he loved to sit right next to me and watch me play. So some of the games that I started playing when I was younger were Adventure Island, the Mario Brothers, obviously the original 1985 one, and then I went into like Mario 1 and 2 and 3 for the Super Nintendo. So we went from the Nintendo to the Super Nintendo, from the Super Nintendo to the N64. From the N64 we went to the GameCube, and from the GameCube we went into like PlayStation 1. So it definitely was like we would go as the consoles would come out. So I remember going from that to like I finished the Mario games. They were very challenging at the time. I don't know if they're still challenging. Like, if I picked them up right now, would I feel the same challenges as I did when I was younger? But I remember they were really freaking difficult when we were kids. And then I started playing games like Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and that was really fun. I don't think I actually personally played it. I think my mother played it because I was just really scared when the zombies would pop out. So that was like I remember my mother said that she got up to like the baby, where the level where the baby boss was, and like she could never beat it. And you know, Zombies Ate My Neighbors is actually very challenging. So that was very interesting. And other games that we loved playing as a family was Star Tropics. I love Star Tropics even till today. Like I would be able to sit down and just replay the entire series again because it is just such a wonderful made game. The music was great, the story was awesome, the exploration of the game was great. So definitely a must buy back then, and I mean it's a must play now. I think it's on the Nintendo like the past, so definitely see if you would like something like that. What else? I think I remember us going from, all of those games. I mean, we had like the Harvest Moon. I remember like that was my first time playing Harvest Moon on the Super Nintendo. I loved Harvest Moon for Super Nintendo. Who didn't? It was amazing. And then we went into the N64, and then we started with Super Mario 64. And I know my brother had a couple of other games at that time. It seems like I don't remember a lot from the Nintendo 64 console. I think that maybe at that time I was very focused on sports. I played a lot of sports growing up. I was really into basketball, and I was playing softball, handball. Like I was always outside, so I don't remember for some reason like that console as much, but I do remember we played F-Zero a lot. I remember we played Mario Kart a lot, and that was all on the N64. After that we got a GameCube, and I remember the GameCube happened for some reason, and I don't know if any of you remember, but I remember the GameCube coming simultaneously with the PlayStation 1, because I remember how the events turned up was that I started high school, and I remember my boyfriend in high school was very much into video games. And I remember he gave me a copy of Final Fantasy VII and said, like, you should definitely try this genre. And I remember I never played RPGs at all. I didn't even know what an RPG was. Like, I know that Star Tropics and other similar games like, Zelda were sort of in the RPG category, but it wasn't an RPG. So I didn't know what that was. And I remember he gave me the Final Fantasy VII. He was like, here, play this. And I'm like, okay. And somehow, when the same time that he gave me Final Fantasy VII, I'm not sure if my mother noticed and got us Final Fantasy 8 and 9. And I was like, ooh, what's this? Like, the cover even looked really pretty. And I was like, I think I might like this one better. And so I picked up a copy of Final Fantasy 8. And I put it on, and I remember like seeing through the clip in the beginning, like all romantic, and it's like, I'll wait for you. And I was like, this is my type of game. I gotta start this. And I was hooked on Final Fantasy 8. Damn, I think I played through that game, and there was no save points. If you guys remember, like our parents would be like, dinner, let's go, shut it off. And I'm like, I'm in a boss fight. It's like 3 hours long. I'm not going. It was really fun. And I remember, I had a lot of good memories. My brother would be right next to me. We'd have like the guidebook open, and at the time it was like physical guidebooks, and that's what made it so special. Like the physical guidebooks, the physical guidebooks. And I remember he would be the one like looking in the guidebook, and I would be like, let's see how we can get like the secret items in the places. And it was definitely amazing. It was a great experience, and honestly, I loved Final Fantasy VIII, but I fell in love with Final Fantasy IX, and it's still till this day my favorite JRPG. Final Fantasy IX just really touched my heart, and Garnet is the definite definition of an independent woman. And I mean, if you guys haven't played Final Fantasy IX, definitely try to sit down and play it. There is a remaster on the Switch, which is what I'm showing in the trailer anyway, because if I showed you the trailer for the graphics of the PlayStation 1 version, the quality would be terrible. And this game is definitely a worth it JRPG if you have not played it. The story is impeccable, and some side stories that I fell in love with definitely were Vivi's story, and even till this day, like her story, well, her, it's a, like, I feel like the story between Vivi and the villagers, and like as a whole, and like you can't really figure out like what they are, but you do know that they question life and they question their existence. And honestly, that is something that I really loved about Final Fantasy IX. And just the battle system was awesome. I remember those were my two favorite, and I never really finished Final Fantasy VII after that. I started a little bit and I never finished, but I know my brother, he finished that game. That was his favorite Final Fantasy game. After those two, I jumped into I jumped into Star Ocean Second Story, and I loved that game as well. But I had like a really large file, like I played nonstop. And then one day I come home and my brother looks very guilty. And I go, "What happened?" And he's like, "Oh, I sort of kind of deleted your file." And first of all, I will never forgive him. If you're watching it, I'll never forgive you. But also, it was just, since JRPGs are so lengthy, it was just so hard to want to start from the very beginning. I had so many hours invested already that I stopped. And then after that, I remember my brother had a GameCube, so I feel like the GameCube came after the PlayStation 1. And I tried a little bit of the Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life, and I played a lot of hours on it, but not enough. And I remember that after that, I stopped playing video games. I went through a really difficult breakup in high school. I'm shamed, but you know what? We all went through this. And as a result, I just did not want to touch video games for the next couple of years. So I was very lost in the gaming community for a very long time. And I didn't go back to gaming until the pandemic, where I could finally pause and sit down and think. And honestly, when I picked up video games again during the pandemic, I actually felt really good about myself. The first game that I started was Pokemon Eevee, and then I went into like Hollow Knight, and I started playing other games. And honestly, I don't regret picking up my systems again. I don't regret my collections. I don't regret, being a collector for video games. I'm just really happy that I had the chance to go back to doing something that I really enjoyed truly as a child, and it didn't just go away and disappear. I know some people who loved to game when they were young. When they get older, they don't want to do that anymore. So I'm actually really happy that I never stopped. But yeah, so that is my story. If you have any questions about, why I became a gamer in that sense, please let me know in the comments below. I remember that as I was growing up, video games was a very big part of my life. I know that I paused for a very long time afterwards, but once I picked it right back up again, I realized that I truly do love video games. I truly love sitting down and, entering a story of a video game and just immersing myself into whatever I am playing. It is kind of almost like when I'm reading books. I really get into it. I start to imagine that I am like the protagonist. Same thing with video games. And I just like really take it all in and like enjoy the video game as a whole. And I mean like the music, the atmosphere, the environment, the battle systems, if it's an RPG or if it's a Metroidvania. Like I truly love just putting myself into the game. And that's kind of what I think makes someone a gamer. I don't think it's like how many games you've played, what genre you play, what systems you play. None of that really matters. As long as you love what you're doing and you feel like you're getting the experience of a gamer, you are a gamer. At least that's how I feel. Yeah, so let me know, what kind of games did you guys play? What kind of games did you grow up on? I know a lot of people grew up on like Sega and what is it, Dreamcast. And I had it, I think I had, I know I had a Sega Genesis. I don't remember if I had a Dreamcast, but I do know that when I had the Sega Genesis, what did I have for that? I had Sonic, I think, and we had like Street Fighters, and I think we had Pac-Man. And I remember we played for a little while, and I don't know what my mother did with that system. I swear, I feel like that system was like one of those taboo systems that entered, stood there on our shelf, and just disappeared, and we never knew what happened to it. Because I remember we were playing Pac-Man, and I'm not talking about like the Pac-Man where you're like in the arcades style. It was like an actual action adventure platform. And I remember we also played a lot of the Sonic games. But then I don't know what happened to my system. I swear my mother probably just threw it out. So, not threw it out, maybe sold it, but still, I'm trying to remember what happened to that system, and it just does not come up in my head. I know we had a Dreamcast because my brother recently told me that we did. I don't remember what happened to that as well. And I know we had a Game Boy Advance, and I know that we had a lot of games for the Game Boy Advance with the complete in-box and manual. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to me ramble for the last 17 minutes. But also, I just wanted to use this time to update you guys that I do have a lot of content planned for the next several months. So, be open to seeing, unboxings. I'm going to show off some more of my mail pickups that I get. Like, I still have to do a December pickup video. And I am going to be doing a lot more concentration on figures. I do collect figures, not just video games. I kind of just want to let you guys know that this channel is going to be a variety of different things. And also, I wanted to say that I do have a Twitter, and the Twitter account is always updated frequently. I do always post everything that I receive by mail, including my figures from now on. So if you're interested in seeing stuff like that, please give me a follow for my Twitter. I usually don't say this, but I'm going to say this. Like my video and subscribe if you're interested in seeing future content. I'm a really small channel, and I'd appreciate a like just so that it can get more exposure. And I do have a giveaway until the 1st. This video should be up before then. So if you guys are interested, there is a giveaway on the link down below. And finally, I do have a Discord, and if you guys are interested in chatting with me or being part of the Wonderland family, I do have a Discord link down below. It would be awesome if you guys can join so we can grow our little family. And as usual, thank you so much for being part of our family. Thank you so much for joining me on this adventure, and hoping that I can build a community of gamers who share the same interests as me. And always stay wonderful. Until next time.